Hey, it's Rob. Welcome to Axel's Garage. All right, so this is our second video in the heater core replacement on the K5. Any square body will be similar or exactly the same. Now, if you remember on the first video, and I'll put a link to that up here, when we were taking it apart, we did notice a broken part that we didn't break. It was broken, and it is the door that is going to direct your airflow to your upper vents or to the plenum that will then direct it either to the lower vents for the heat or the defroster vents for your windshield. And if you have the design is horrible, and I'll show you that in a second, but if you have a vehicle and when you put it on heat or defrost, you still get some airflow through your AC vents, or if you don't have AC, just through the regular dash vents coming straight at you, then you probably have this same broken part. And I can't imagine that there's too many on the road that don't have this part broken just because of the design of it. It is a vacuum actuated door that has a metal shaft coming out of the vacuum actuator, and I'm holding it in my hand, and it goes into a plastic pivot part that is actually what's opening and closing the door. And at the end of the plastic, it's screwed in. There's a hole in it, and it's screwed in, and it's only about a 1/16 of an inch thick. And all the pressure when it's opening and shutting is on that really thin part of this plastic house, and it's a big plastic housing. See it like that, but here, right there where my finger is, that's where the part that breaks off is, and that's what's holding it on the door. And this is the little part right here. And it's holding it on the door, and as the door pushes, this thing needs to pivot, and it cracks off. So now this is just sitting in there, and it's not fully opening and fully shutting your door, and that's what's letting the air leak to the vents that it's not designed to go to when you adjust your thingamadicky there. So how do we fix this? This part's not available anywhere. I didn't even try to find a GM number for it. I'm sure nobody's going to have this thing. So what you could do, what would be the best thing to do is to take like a solid piece of like aluminum or something and machine one out of aluminum would be perfect. But I don't have that ability or the equipment to do that. So what I did was I took a starter shim, just a regular starter shim. I don't know how thick this one is, but it's not super thin, and it's not a thick one either. And I cut it down into like a strap, and then I doubled it over, right? And I just bent it using something round like a drill bit or something, or a shaft on a drill bit, and I sort of made two identical straps that follow the contour of this plastic part like that, so that what I could do is I could take this strap and I could put it over the plastic part like this and screw it back in through the factory hole. I'll take the little piece that broke off here, and I'm gonna glue this back on, and not for any kind of structure, just to keep the spacing consistent. Put this into the door, put the strap on it, and put the screw through the strap and through the original part of the plastic that broke back into the original hole in the door. And then I made it long enough so that I could add a second screw that will go right through the strap and right through the door. And it's just two pieces of shim that I taped together with a little flex tape because I had it sitting on my toolbox just to hold it. And it's rigid. So when the vacuum actuator pushes this, it's going to push up on this strap, and the strap is only connected where my thumb and finger are holding it right here, and that's where it was connected with the plastic. And it is going to open the door before this doubled strap is ever going to deflect it all. And then when it closes, right, it's pulling it. And if this is in place, this kind of fits in the hole. So when it's pulling the door actually open, when it's pulling it open, this plastic piece is too big for the hole in the door, the rectangular hole in the door that it fits. So there's no, even though it's cracked and everything, it's going to pull the door shut with no problem. It's when it pushes, well, actually pull the door open. When it pushes the door shut is when this piece comes into play. And as long as this piece stays in place, opening it, it'll push the door to the shut position. And like I said, I can push with my hand, and this doesn't really deflect at all. The door will go to its position way before, with enough pressure, way before this will ever start to deflect. It's not putting that much pressure on it. So that's our quick fix. Let me zoom in the camera and show you exactly what I did here. Okay, so just to give you a close-up, right, here's the plastic part. Here's the little piece that broke off, and it would normally be like this, and this piece broke off. So we're going to glue this back on just so it sits as a spacer, so we make sure we got it in the right spot. Then we're going to put this over it. I got a mark on the back of it. You can see the little Sharpie mark on the back of it where I'm going to drill through it for the original screw, and then I'm going to put a second hole right near the end for a second screw. So that's going to go on like that, and then it'll be screwed through. This little piece will be here, right, glued, and there'll be two screws going through this way into the door, and this guy here now will be held in place with the strap, and when it pushes the door, it can still pivot with no problem, and when it pushes the door open, it's going to push against this, and it'll hold it in place, and then when it pulls, you can see that this is grooved here, so where it sits in the door, this part of the plastic is too big to slide through the door, and that's what actually pulls the door. So this isn't really used for the pulling the door in, it's only for pushing the door that way. I was thinking about maybe for some added insurance to take another starter shim, cut it down, and maybe put it over the top, bend it around, here and then here, and screwing it in that way, just to hold it in place on this side and not just with the screws over there. We'll see once we get into it. But I think really this will suffice as far as what we need to do for this. And this is the door that directs to the AC vents or the regular vents as opposed to the defroster or the heat vents. But this should be a pretty simple fix, other than machining a completely new part out of a different material or using another. Plastic is a bad choice here, especially when it's this thin. It's only connected, in this little thin spot. So like I said, I bet most of them on the road right now are broken. So that's it for our second video. The next one, hopefully, we'll be repairing that other door that we broke, trying to get the box apart. And that's the door that most people break. So hopefully we can either repair it or we could find a workaround similar to something like this and get that one working so that we can get this whole project back together. Thanks for watching.